Progressive policies are working great if you understand what they're really meant to do. They're meant to destroy U.S. civics. I challenge anybody who would like to have a debate that the modern United States Democratic Progressive Movement is not completely bought and sold by the CCP.
Listeners and people who haven't been, what should they know about Oakland?
Oakland, California, and San Francisco, for that matter, is ground zero for the progressive movement in the United States of America. Our mayor is facing 93 years in federal prison for corruption. And the FBI leak, they had all her stuff taken from her office as part of the investigation. Part of that investigation had a memo. In that memo, it says, use BP, black people, as tokens. Here's the thing. I don't want to get too dark. This rabbit hole gets crazy, bro. This is more than
I want to go down it. I want to go down it. Because,
okay, so. We're in a dangerous time right now. People have a right to be mad right now in America. Most of the original founders of the Black Lives Matter movement had suspicious deaths. They were politically assassinated. I don't know if you know that.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world? Welcome back to the Real Talk with Zuby podcast. On today's episode, I am going to be talking to a community organizer. He is based out of Oakland and Nashville. And this is Seneca Scott. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, man. Thank you. Welcome to Oakland, California.
Thank you very much, man. You've been wanting me to come here for a while. I want to say for the past 2 years, every time you've seen me in Cali, you've hit me up saying, hey, man, we need to talk about Oakland. You need to come check out the city. And I'm finally here.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched the episodes with Schellenberger. He's a friend of mine. And he's just an amazing guy. And I'm like, we need to have a conversation about Oakland, California. It's such a unique place. And what's happening here will give a lot of people, I believe, insight to some of the confusion of what's happening around them politically right now in many cities across America.
Awesome. Well, before we get into that, for my listeners who may not be familiar with who you are and what you do, please introduce yourself.
I'm Seneca Scott. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I had a normal, regular upbringing. The most fun fact of my family is that I'm a descendant of Seneca Scott King. We're not descendants. She's my grandfather's niece. And so she hyphenated in the 1950s. And Martin married up. That's a lot of people don't know that. But to think about a black woman hyphenating in the 1950s, that's sort of new age. And they met at the Boston Conservatory, where she was getting her second master's degree in voice. So that's always been like something we're very proud of. To have a legacy in the civil rights movement. And that led me to go into the labor movement. That was largely my motivation when I attended Cornell University to go into labor. I thought civil rights is like, what are the results? I thought most of the gains that I saw my ancestors fighting for fundamentally had been realized, and that there was still some things to work out, but the urgency was the working class issues, the class issue. And so I threw myself into the U.S. labor movement, moved to California, first San Diego, then Los Angeles, and then finally up to Oakland, California in 2014. But I began working in Oakland in 2012 as East Bay director of a major union, SEIU 1021. So I was like the union boss for the entire East Bay. Major responsibility, negotiating like all types of huge contracts, transit strikes. We struck a bunch of people. So I was a very entrenched, high-level progressive leftist.
Okay.
Fully on board with changing America into a more socialist type country. And we were working very diligently to do that by any means necessary, in my particular angle being the U.S. labor movement. Coming to Oakland, California, I burnt out on labor, not for political reasons, just because it's hard. I don't know if you know anything about organizing. It's hard.
Okay.
So I burnt out, but I like to cook, and I wanted to, grow food. And I was really into cooking. My hobby at the time was cooking. I believe everyone should, every decade or so, have a hobby that is almost fundamentally important to you, that you do almost daily to the level of expertise. So you start to build a toolkit. And even if that's just your personal toolkit, like I play the guitar and I can farm or whatever it is, it's valuable to, being like a full person. And so cooking was like a huge passion of mine. This was like 2008 to 2018. And so I wanted to do like a fully like farm to table deal. So I started an urban farm. I helped co-found an urban farm in Oakland. That became a festival. We were just trying to sell more just like breakfast sandwiches. So we're throwing parties, and then people were having fun at the parties. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, there's bees pollinating flowers. It's like people having fun. This is like the closest I've been to Euphoria, where every single person around me felt provided for. And we were extremely intentional in terms of radical accessibility and price point and giving things away for people from the neighborhood who may not be able to afford it, and showing people that like gentrification is a displacement of people and culture, not the arrival of new neighbors and opportunity. And that we could choose, being newcomers into this neighborhood, how we choose to interact with the people who have been here.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful, man. There's a poem, If. You ever read it?
Rings a bell.
If you can keep your wits and all about you are blaming you. It's very, very Rudyard Kipling poem.
Okay, it does definitely rings a bell.
It's such a good poem. If you wanted to take the time, I could read it.
Okay.
But that's up to you. So,
okay.
I don't know if you do poetry on here, but it's worth it. But people know the poem. But the poem is If.
Okay, I'll check it out.
It's a very famous poem.
Sure.
There's a part in it is if you could stand up to hear your words twisted by knaves made a trap for fools. Basically, everything I built and spent so much love and intention in Oakland was basically systemically taken from me.
Okay.
Post-COVID. So that's the part of the story where everything was great. As stories often are, you go to Hollywood and the first part of the movie, character development, everybody's all happy. And then the bad stuff comes. Well, the bad stuff was COVID.
Okay.
And I'd always been about no war. I don't like big pharma, body sovereignty, your body, your choice. I just saw all of these things were very performative. And I saw there's a saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I saw that road being paved around me by my neighbors. And so I ran for office. I was still a progressive in 2020.
Okay.
But I did something I thought I would never do, was run for political office. Very local, city council. And I thought we were trying to make progress. I had my own pragmatic ideas. I called myself a pragmatic progressive, and I wanted to solve the homeless crisis. That's how I met Michael. And I'm like, okay, we have this thing, and what's the compassionate way to deal with it with the available resources we have? How do we triage? Like, if someone comes to the hospital in front of you and you're the doctor and they're having a cardiac arrest, do you ask them what diet they had or root causes that led to them being in this state? Or do you stabilize the freaking guy and then worry about that after they're actually going to live? And so when you have the level of acuity of the social crisis that we were having in Oakland, California, that intensified post-COVID, like in many cities around the country, and I saw the performative altruism that was pretty much fundamental to the progressive.
Performative altruism.
Performative altruism.
Okay,
basically,
I can guess what
fake
that
woke
means,
stuff.
but okay, got it,
I act like I care.
Okay.
I act like I care. Weaponize compassion. There are many terms that people use, like housing first. Yes. Housing first is like saying food first to someone with an eating disorder.
Ooh, okay.
Like, think about that. Yeah. If I have an eating disorder, I know I need food fundamentally, but there's something blocking me from wanting to eat healthy. Right? There's something there that I need to address. That's very critical because I could die from it.
Okay.
Right? The same thing with most of the people being on drugs or having mental health problems. And you're not addressing and you're being dishonest about it. And it really just shook me. And so I ran for mayor in 2022 as an independent.
Okay.
And I was a lot more aggressive because as a professional organizer, it's like the guy from Taken, Liam Neeson, when he's like, I'm back, right? And I'm like, all right, or John Wick. Like, I put my guns back on, figuratively and literally. And I caught a gun charge before I ran for mayor, which is one of the reasons I ran. But I beat it and got my firearm returned in California, which is a rarity, I would say. And so after becoming an independent and then being canceled, not two fundamental things. The vaccine, no, not taking that. That got me canceled. Not as hard, though, because in the Black community, we really didn't do that. Okay. Right, in America. I don't know if you know that, but Black people, the most vaccine hesitant populations in America were people with PhDs in the Black community.
Yeah, I know that.
So, and trans stuff.
Oh, okay.
I took a picture with Billboard Chris.
Oh, yeah.
When I was running for mayor like an idiot. It wasn't very smart of me. It wasn't smart. But I did it. He won the debate. I never met the guy. And so I was like, what are you talking about? You got to be crazy to be in Oakland, California, talking some anti-trans stuff. We support a trans community. Yeah. Oak Heller, my brand, was a trans inclusive party. We were like half a gay party. We're a very queer party.
Sure.
And like, there's zero issues with the trans community. And then he told me what was happening with the blockers. He educated me, and I was like, I'll do some fact checking real quick. Like, you know what I'm saying? Hold on, but I just, like, you gotta be kidding me. This is happening? He was like, yeah. I'm like, man, you're right. Right on, bro. I'll take a picture. I'll take a picture with the sign. Nope, over. And it was just like, I don't think children can make an informed medical decision for puberty blockers. A child cannot make an informed medical decision for a permanent. Like, this is at a time when these things were in flux.
So you weren't aware that was even going on?
No.
And it was, okay, interesting.
No. And then, I just thought, like, protect trans kids.
Sure.
I just said the slogan. Like, bro, why are you trying to mess with the trans kid? He was like, what are you talking about? Like, you're killing them. You're destroying their lives. I'm like, bro. What are you talking about? No, I was so ignorant. I was completely ignorant. Most people were in 2022.
Sure. Interesting.
This is June of 2022.
Thanks for watching this video. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more full Real Talk with Zuby podcasts and clips. Thank you. There's so many things I want to go into, but the first one is, so you moved to Oakland 2014, you said? What is it? I know you're very passionate about Oakland. You talk a lot about Oakland. I've been on YouTube, and you do walks through certain parts of the city. When I think of Oakland, I actually think of you and just how much you talk about the city. So what are some things that listeners and people who haven't been to this part of the country, what should they know about Oakland? What is going on in Oakland? What is it that made you want to fix something? What is it that made you want to show people, hey, this is going on in Oakland? What is it that made you want to run for mayor of the city? What is actually going on here?
So Oakland, California is probably the only, as far as places I've been, and granted, I'm not as traveled as you are, but I've been a few places around the world. It's segregated. Like Boston, for instance, actually has a higher percentage of Black people than Oakland, but it's segregated. Oakland, California, it's not segregated. It is literally Asians, Black, Latino, everybody is hanging out together. The vibes are unparalleled. The music, the art, the culture, the spirit of resistance. I literally live in the house that the Black Panthers used to live in.
Oh, wow.
In West Oakland, right? Like, to be there vibrationally is great. Oakland was a great place. Before I get into this part, Oakland has perfect weather. Any day in Oakland could be any day of the year. You have year-round, perfect Mediterranean weather. You have the proximity, the wine country, and all of these places. It is just a lovely place. Beautiful people, intentional people, a very caring place. And Oakland was cool because you used to be able to, you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
So the law may say I'm only supposed to have like 4 goats, but I'll have like 12 goats. Maybe I'm only supposed to have 6 chickens. I'll have 70 chickens. Maybe I'm only supposed to have like 4 weed plants. I'll have 200 weed plants. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Everybody's chill. But now you can do whatever you want. And there's another side to that. And what I want people to know about Oakland now is that if you're wondering what's happening in your city, what seems that the will of the people seems to be disregarded, and the people who are elected are just doing whatever they want. The money seems to be evaporating, and the problems that they're throwing money at get worse, while the amount of money they're throwing at it gets higher. There's a reason for that too. Oakland, California, and San Francisco, for that matter, is ground zero for the progressive movement in the United States of America. This is where they incubate the policies, the organizing tactics. This is where the leadership structure is. This is why Kamala came from here. This is why Open Societies and George Soros, mostly the nucleus is here. The Ties Foundation, again, nucleus is here. And one name that you'll never probably hear if you're not talking to me or some other informed people: the Chinese Progressive Association.
Okay, what's that?
They're a nonprofit headquartered in San Francisco on Geary Street. This one nonprofit. So when you're looking at funding to figure out who's funding these things, what's going on, why would the Ties Foundation give millions of dollars to Chinese Progressive Association to give it back to the Ties Foundation? Looks like money laundering. So you can't trace the money. But more importantly, the Chinese Progressive Association fiscally sponsors over 50,000 nonprofits.
Oh, wow.
Around the country. So there's a website, and I can send it to you. We don't have a little screen up here, not that kind of podcast, but I can send you the stuff afterward. You can direct people to where this research is done. And it's just rigorously academic standard. This isn't tinfoil hat stuff. This is EIN numbers being tracked with quantum data stuff. So we can track with this that many. It's like the book of Genesis in the Bible. This person begat that person, begat that person, begat that person. It's like that for nonprofit.
Oh, wow.
Right? And it's so hard to follow this web, and it's all headquartered out of one place. And so these policies that they have are the same everywhere because the people who are locally elected, they're not the ones pushing these policies. They're being given to them by their funders. And now you have a professional activists become legislators. And then those legislators matriculate to executive function.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have people like Karen Bass and our current mayor, Barbara Lee, from Congress. They have no idea what they're doing. They have no executive functions. These people don't know how to run a business, but yet they're in charge of major businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're in a dangerous time right now. And what I believe is happening is what's called low-intensity conflict. Some people call it fifth generation warfare. It's actually seventh generation. You could argue semantics in the intelligence community all you want.
Okay.
But without a doubt, we're in low-intensity conflict, which may have changed 24 hours or so yesterday.
And what does that mean? I mean, I think it means what it says on the tin.
It's a form of war that's not kinetic.
Okay.
It's not violent. And so there's controversy in America around the Obama administration loosening laws where they were allowed to use certain propaganda tactics on American citizens that we used to use abroad. So those tactics, those things are low-intensity conflict. When Green Berets parachute into an area and they pick the winners and losers by virtue of who they give aid to, or they may even engage in some asymmetrical practices like poisoning water sources for people over here, some very dirty, illegal things. This is why so many of our special ops community eats bullets every day. God bless them. They're very guilty about the things that they've done there. I work with a lot of them doing medicine work and recovery. You don't want to hear about the things that they've done there for country. Yeah. Right? And so this type, but that's a little more aggressive. But the low intensity conflict is no violence. It's, I'm going to take over your school board to pass policies that I know harm education intentionally, like delaning and getting algebra out of school. I'm going to introduce things like ranked choice voting. You ever heard of that?
I have.
Ranked choice voting with 100% certainty will decrease the number of people who vote. But that means it's voter suppression. And the people that is suppressing their vote who make mistakes are pretty much always in low socioeconomic totem pole, typically Black and brown. How come you can't see those equity concerns, but you think that people can't get IDs? It's a lot easier for a Black person to get a freaking ID than it is for them to navigate ranked choice voting. Okay? It makes no sense. But
why does ranked choice voting cause voter suppression? Can you explain that?
It's needlessly confusing for one reason, but here's the one reason. You can win without a mandate. You can win without getting 50%. I led the recall of Oakland's mayor. Why was it so easy? Because she only got like less than 30% of the vote to begin with. She never had a true majority. Another issue is ranked choice voting counts votes in secret. It uses a closed source algorithm. Think about that for a second. It's not open source. So they're basically saying, just trust us how we're going to count these votes. And you can't authenticate it. The first ranked choice voting manual recount in American history, and the only ranked choice voting manual recount in American history happened because of me.
Okay.
I filed a protest after the mayor race because the mayor won by 673 votes when 3,093 votes were disqualified due to error. That's 7 times more. And we wanted to look at those votes.
That sounds suspect. Yeah.
We couldn't get the mayor recount done, but we got a school board recount done because it was a smaller sample size. And it was overturned because they applied Berkeley's charter and not Oakland's charter. That's another issue. The city charter, in the way that it tells you to count votes, can make a different winner. How is that democracy? How is that a reflection of the voters' wishes when someone can win with less than a third of the vote and that vote anyway, it's a mess. It's put here to do exactly what it's doing. Progressive policies are working great. if you understand what they're really meant to do.
And what are they meant to do? What's the goal?
They're meant to destroy U.S. cities.
But why would people want that? I'm trying to
Well, we
understand
don't
this.
want that.
Yeah.
Why do they want that?
Yeah, why do they want that? I also asked this because, you yourself said that
Good question. They don't work for America.
Spent a lot of time being a progressive, so I assume that, that was not your intention. So...
Good question.
Yeah, so
there's a term, useful idiot. I was one.
Okay.
With all my intelligence.
Very honest.
It's very useful. Tremendously useful.
Yeah.
I'll add. As all things, there's a saying, follow the money, which is what has led to discovering where the money was coming from. We have a globalist agenda. The trends, the open borders, all of these things that are happening in lockstep, which come from World Economic Forum and all of these other entities, it's an agenda. I call it anti-human agenda. Maybe they think that they have grand plans for the future. Remember, they tell you outright, we're going to change what's right and wrong. I forgot who made that quote at the World Economic Forum, but it was horrifying.
I don't know, but these are people who sit around talking about how the biggest problem in the world is that there's too many human beings on it and stuff like that. So I don't exactly trust them.
Yeah, demonic talk.
Yeah.
Very insidious, very evil talk. But let me just step back for a second. People here don't like capitalism. America has not been the best faith actor. A lot of people here, because of the manufactured victimhood, because it's convenient to push people that way, and also that's combined with the fact that these issues are real. We really do have cost of living issues in America. We have central banking that is operating the money printing and the inflation, that is immoral. It's immoral. Yep. So people do have a right to be very upset. And they have a right to want to fundamentally change the course of our country. But the options that they're choosing, we know that aren't the best one.
Yes.
But simply put, the people running the show are bought off by China, man. We need to stop talking around this. They're bought off. They've sold out for 40 pieces of silver. We can prove it. We know it. We can prove it. Again, academically, you can prove it. I challenge anybody who would like to have a debate that the modern United States Democratic Progressive Movement is not completely bought and sold by Chinese, by the CCP. They are run by these entities. And
how did you discover that?
Well, it's just, we discovered it by following the money, man.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I don't want to get too, this rabbit hole gets crazy, bro. It's just more than
I want to go down it. I want to go down it. Because,
when we started looking at, if you take any city in the country that's progressive and you look through, first thing you do is you have this ecosystem, public sector labor union, so let's start there. The most effective army before the NGOs rose to prominence from 2020 or so. Around 2019, 2020, you saw all of these nonprofits around the country get this sudden spike of money. That was when the USAID and all of these things started getting funky. But they all got money overnight, all of them, 2019, 2020. Overnight. Like, your nonprofit had $100,000 a year before and you were struggling, now all of a sudden you got $8 million. Who's it come from? Oh, it comes from a Tides Foundation.
The what foundation?
From the Tides Foundation.
Tides.
Or Open Societies Foundation.
I've heard of that one. That's Soros.
That's both Soros, right? Tides Foundation's connected to him as well.
Okay.
And the person who ran the Tides Foundation, name is Quinn Delaney, and she lives in Piedmont, which is inside of Oakland. Oakland has a city inside of a city. So there's a very affluent city on a hill called Piedmont that is 100% surrounded by the city of Oakland. I don't know if you've ever heard of anything like it. And she lives there in a $7.5 million mansion where she hosts Obama and President. I call her the Margaret Sanger of Oakland.
Oof.
If you know who Margaret Sanger is, with Planned Parenthood. Yeah. Same thing. They use Black people as tokens. Matter of fact, our mayor is facing 93 years in federal prison for corruption that we recalled. And the FBI leaked, they had all her stuff taken from her office as part of the investigation. Part of that investigation had a memo that said the plan for them to beat the recall. In that memo, it says, use BP, Black people, as tokens.
It says that in there?
Yeah, directly in there.
Wow.
Right, I'll send it to you. Use Black people as tokens. And then it says, our money. And in there it says Quinn Delaney, Open Societies. So these nonprofits get their money from, but the Chinese Progressive Association, we don't know where they get their money. They're getting it from China. China has central banking, like we do, which means they can effectively print money. Let's just dissect them for a second. They're one nonprofit, again, headquartered on Geary Street in San Francisco. And they're the fiscal sponsor. If you have a nonprofit and you have a fiscal sponsor, you don't have to report the donors. I don't know where your money comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And then these nonprofits are supposed to be 501c3s, which are not supposed to engage politically, but they basically prop up politicians and act like they're their Lord and Savior, which is politically adjacent. Sometimes they just blatantly cross the line because there's no oversight. But they give money to all of these nonprofits, and they start nonprofits. So the Rising label is one of them. If you're in your city and you have an organization with the word Rising behind it, like Oakland Rising or Bay Area Rising, I was in Story, Wyoming for a retreat, Doom and Optimist retreat. We had Paul Kingsnorth there, James Poe, a bunch of famous people, writers and stuff. And I've told this, I did a presentation on the Chinese Progressive Association funding. And somebody from Wyoming was like, yeah, we have Wyoming Rising. It's super progressive. I wonder where the hell these people came from. And I was like, oh yeah, let's look them up. Yep, Chinese Progressive Association.
Wow.
Fucking Wyoming. They're everywhere. With dark money from China.
Okay.
With cookie cutter policy, this is how you save the world. And it's very, very effective. Here's why. When people have legitimate issues, in organizing, there's two things you do in organizing. Number one, and the most important, is organize around the issues.
Mm-hmm.
Fundamentally. Number two is a flow chart. Educate, agitate, organize. Progressive skip education. They fake education, move to agitation to create radicals.
Yes.
People who want to create free thinkers do the process honestly with good intentions so people can arrive at their own conclusion. A fundamental part of the education process, moving in good faith to the agitation process, is debate. Christopher Lasch, who's a hero of mine, who died in the 1990s, wrote a book, Revolt of the Elite and the Betrayal of Democracy. And in that, he has a passage, The Lost Art of Debate. Mostly memorized it, and I'm close enough. But before I get into that, here's why I'm pivoting here. First thing progressives do is shut down debate. So put that on the shelf, and let me get back here because I know people. I don't want to lose everyone here. So the first thing they do is they put a bunch of money into all of these nonprofits and all of these base building organizations, and they work with California Endowment. That's a major nonprofit in California with billions of dollars. They help fund it too. The San Francisco Foundation, another mega foundation, they help fund these things too. Here's the thing, these foundations also fund all types of legitimate things that are doing good work. And so you get funding from them if you're trying to clean up trash on the street or help kids learn how to read because they're the progressives and you can get funding from them. But it comes to strings attached sometimes. And slowly but surely they move you over into these more radical positions. It's very like, and then it's subtle, but then when you have a crisis, I move you quick.
Yeah.
The Occupy Wall Street was the first escalation. Occupy Wall Street was co-opted and used to escalate the agenda, this globalist agenda. Black Lives Matter was co-opted and used to escalate. The Black Lives Matter, legitimate Black Lives Matter, started with those kids in St. Louis or whatever who were mad that the dude got killed by the cops. Not George Floyd, but the other one, right, who got shot. Like, it was bad. All those kids got killed. They were politically assassinated. I don't know if you know that. Most of the original founders of the Black Lives Matter movement had suspicious deaths, like getting shot in cars and stuff like that.
No, I didn't.
And they were truly fighting against police brutality that was indeed going on. There is a need for some police reform. We do have some problems like that.
Sure.
Tamir Rice in Cleveland swinging on a swing and cops get off and then just shoot the kid in the swing. Like, what the fuck? This guy in Walmart is playing with a toy gun, Crawford, and the police show up and kill him in Walmart because he had a toy gun because they thought the gun was real. But Walmart's the open carry state where people commonly walk around with ARs on their backs. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
So there were legitimate issues there. And they used that to move it fast. COVID, though, oh my God. Talk about a wet dream for propagandists. Did you know, so I didn't forget my line of thought, but I do this. My stories are a little asymmetrical, but I'll get back to it. The ACLU held a symposium, forget the date, somewhere between the year 2000 and 2012, something like that, recently enough.
Okay.
And that symposium was to answer one question. One question. If there was a disease with a 1%, maybe even 10%, but at least 1%, I'm going to go safe, I think it's 10%, but 1% kill rate. So we have this infectious global pandemic and it's killing 1% of the population. Will we support mandated vaccines? Yes or no? That's what the question was for the symposium. And guess what the answer was for the ACLU?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. Back then, I guess. Okay. Back
Funny,
then, I
right?
guess that makes sense, yeah.
So I brought that up and asked someone from the ACLU in 2021 when I was like going crazy like everyone else about COVID and what are they doing and why are they acting like we're stupid.
Yeah.
And I asked them, hey guys, you did this symposium for the sole reason so you wouldn't have to operate out of fear. So you could operate with clarity of having already deep dived with these decisions in a time of luxury.
Mm-hmm.
And you wisely came up with no for something that's far more deadly in your theory, in your game planning, than what's really happening. Can you explain to me why you changed your position? And she says, this many people died. And I'm like, I know. She's like, they're really dying. It's real. And I'm like, I know, but you game planned this and more people were dying in your hypothetical situation. So are you telling me that you guys were just fucking around? Why should I be part of the ACLU and participate in these things in good faith if that whole thing was a waste of time? Because you're being completely dishonest. You're not taking your own recommendation. This is further complicated by the fact that we had plenty of found drugs that work. Anyway, let me get back to the CCP.
Okay.
You take over the school board, you take over city council. Because everybody else is focused on federal and not paying attention to local.
Yes.
Local city council and school boards have far more effect on your quality of life than federal election. Then once they take over the school boards and the city council, they start moving up the legislative ladder. And one of the first things they do when they capture these bodies is they just put in a bunch of commissions. Oakland's only posted by city charter have 3 or 4 commissions. The Port of Oakland, Police Commission, 2 others. We have like 40. We have 4 police commissions, 4 police commissions. One of them has more power than city council. They're an appointed body and they get to tell our cops what equipment they can use and not use with no law enforcement experience. That wasn't a means to rural progress. That was a means to destabilization. So once you've defunded the police, this is the cornerstone. They've messed up your education so your next generation can't read. They're illiterate. Literacy and writing and reading comprehension is the #1 thing that keeps people free.
Yeah.
This is why Frederick Douglass and other slaves, that's why they didn't let them read.
Yes.
So they get rid of that. Can't read, kids can't read no more. You know that black children in America are reading worse than pre-Brown versus Board of Education? Are you familiar with Brown versus Board of Education?
I've heard of it. I don't know the details.
Landmark civil rights case.
What year was that?
Like 50s, I think.
50s, okay.
Yeah. We're reading worse than the 1950s.
Yes, I can believe that.
How's that progress?
I mean, it's only a minority are reading
poor.
At proper level, right?
Yeah. Mostly minorities, but more poor.
Yeah, no, sorry, I mean a minority of...
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No problem. I think a minority of young black people, young black Americans are reading at the age level that they're supposed to be.
That's being generous. No, they're functionally illiterate.
Yeah.
It's the reality. I know I work with them. They're not. They have no reading comprehension skill.
That's scary.
It's very scary.
Is that all? And that's across the nation?
This was across the nation.
Okay.
In these cities. Then you have the defunding of police and dismantling of public safety.
Yeah.
Then you have the weaponized fentanyl. The fentanyl is subsidized. Drugs used to make people a bunch of money. Anybody making money off fentanyl? You notice that?
Yeah.
We can track fentanyl. Did you notice that the time that we pulled out of Afghanistan, was right when we saw the rise of synthetic opiates.
I didn't track it closely.
Take a look at that.
But,
Timing.
yeah.
And then it gives more credibility to the theory that we were only there for those opiates.
Opium, yeah.
Because we were using it as slush fund for our asymmetrical war, anyway. But the point is that we pulled out of those theaters where opiates were like, opiate production was a very lucrative global trade. And when that's a luxury now. Everybody's synthetic now.
Yeah.
So China runs that through Hezbollah. You have Middle East terrorists, Hezbollah's involved. And then they're working with South American, Central American drug cartels. Now the Mexicans don't even do the hand-to-hand anymore. They found that out, the Hondurans and Venezuelans. And then they do the street stuff. So the black people in the hood have been completely cut out of the illicit drug trade. So we don't get that money in these black communities. And I'm not saying it's a good thing to have, but there still was money in the communities from these drug trades. In the 1980s, during crack, you saw like millionaires, teenage millionaires. You see any teenage millionaires on fentanyl?
I mean, I'm not sure I want to, but
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I think it's terrible what was happening. The point is that the drugs are not what you think anymore.
I get you. Yeah.
The purpose of them, and granted, if you're not familiar with the opium wars, we did this to China.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're innocent from it, but the point is that the fentanyl plays with the harm reduction. So the harm reduction nonprofit ecosystem.
Explain that to my listeners, because a lot of people won't know what harm reduction means.
Harm reduction is the theory that you should give people in order so the legitimate harm reduction theory, which I actually agree with, is that if you're a person who's addicted to drugs, in order for me to get you and move into rehab, I need to engage with you an average of 7 times. And the easiest way for me to holistically engage with you is to meet you and give you a needle so you're not sharing needles, so you're not spreading infectious diseases. Or maybe give you a crack pipe so you're not sharing crack pipes and getting infectious diseases. And the way it's supposed to work is, here, I'm not going to say your name because you're not a crackhead or a heroin addict, here, person over here is some needles so you clean.
Mm-hmm.
But we really want you to go to rehab. And we can take you right now to rehab if you want to go. Would you like to go to rehab or at least talk to someone about getting sober? And you say, oh, no, thank you today. You take your needles and you go get high. But within 7 times of doing that, you'll go. Within 3 times of going, you'll get clean. So legitimate harm reduction, found in those studies, the fundamental part of it is that I have to ask you to go to rehab every single time. And I have to have rehab available for you to go to, even immediately. What they turn harm reduction into is give them needles and crack pipes because downtown is for drug users. Mm-hmm. There was a sign in San Francisco when the guy that got recalled, Chester Boudin, he lost. Chester Boudin was recalled, the DA, but another guy, Dean Preston, he was a super progressive person. He lost his election in San Francisco. He's standing next to a harm reduction CEO, and her sign says that downtown is for drug users. Because now their thing is, they don't actually go to rehab. You don't need rehab. Mm-hmm. You have the right to have that lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's what harm reduction has moved to.
Okay.
So I want to give a complete education. I don't want to discredit people who are legitimately engaging in harm reduction the right way, the proper way, right? And there are people who are doing that. Then you also have housing first. We talked about that earlier. Housing first means I can't touch this homeless person. Not only am I going to give them crack pipes and needles to do the drugs, maybe even a stipend from the government to help buy more drugs, you also can't touch them unless you have housing for them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not ready to go to housing. They're going to burn it down or destroy it. The people are on drugs. They're not ready to even move in there. And so they're not doing that because they really care about these people. They want to destabilize everything. So then you have the illegal dumping crisis, which we have in Oakland right now. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I've seen that in your videos walking around the city.
Here there's a lot on 98th Street.
That's crazy.
Just within like 2 miles, not even within a mile from here, I can show you some sites that would shock you. But that's intentional. We have on our website, so the encampment are tracked. There's the thing called the encampment management policy in Oakland to help manage these encampments and have porta potties and trash cleanup for them because they don't have trash, they're outside, they're poor. And on the website, there's a list of all the places and a schedule of the encampment cleanup. Go to those places, that's where the illegal dumping is. You just turn open and poor neighborhoods into an open-air picking pool or a dumping ground. And you have, people dumping conservatively 200 tons of illegal trash in our streets every single day.
Every day?
Every day.
200 tons?
200 tons.
Per day?
Per day.
Jeez. And how long has that been going on for?
This level, about a year.
Yeah.
It's gotten crazier the last year or so. Been kind of steady. Like, it was maybe like a fourth of that before. It was still crazy, but it wasn't like, at this point, it's like, there was this place where I think a nonprofit, Urban Compassion Project, cleared, I believe, 200 tons of trash in one day. You can look at my stuff. I have it there. It's back already.
Yeah.
That was last week. It caught fire, they cleaned it up, and it's already back.
It's crazy.
Like, you can't, it never caught a single person. There's cameras all around.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on. We have 500 officers, 515 officers for a city of 500,000 in Oakland. And we only have 28 police officers on patrol at any given time for 35 precincts. So we don't even have one officer per precinct in the city of Oakland right now.
Wow.
And we're losing 5 officers per month. We only do 4 academies per year. We only graduate 12 officers per academy. You do the math, we're not keeping up with attrition.
No.
So we're never going to be able to move to, one more thing for INSO. We passed a series of ballot measures that come with minimum police staffing. So they put something on the ballot for voters to vote for to raise our taxes, and in it's supposed to be minimum police staffing, 700, and then we pass it, and they just say, we didn't do that. Oops.
And what's the general sentiment in the city about all this? I mean,
demoralized.
Yeah.
Shame. Shame is the lowest vibration. And we're wallowing in it.
So what's the way forward?
Organize, vote. People don't vote. The people who need to vote, who are impacted by these policies, don't vote.
Why not?
So I can answer that question for me personally. The first time I ever voted? For myself in 2020, I was 41.
Okay.
I worked with professional organizer in the labor movement and had thousands of people vote. GOTV campaigns, never registered, never voted myself.
Yeah.
I just didn't, I was more anarchist. I just didn't see them. When I started voting, I thought of presidents. And no matter who's the president, everything's a shame. So who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, think of school boards. I don't have children.
Yeah.
I don't still, but I care about children more now as an older person. No, my parents weren't as old, so I wasn't worried about the elders having safety and freedom. I was just largely hedonistic and selfish.
Yeah.
And thought mostly of myself in pursuit of pleasure and not what's good for the city. And so you're just detached from it. You don't see the value of your vote, and you don't see these leaders as a representation of you. So it's to educate. Back to that flow chart. Yeah. Educate people of the importance of voting locally, of getting involved, but also creating third spaces. One of the most important parts, you asked me why I stayed in Oakland, what we created with the garden was one of the most beautiful third spaces I've ever witnessed. And I have like a hand of creating that where you don't have to have anything to show up. When we had a gauntlet, which is kind of a violent term, but the way we used it wasn't, where there was a line of people on both sides, volunteers, 5 on each side. And we changed them out. And you know what their job was? To stand in line and greet everyone who came in and give them compliments.
Okay.
What a beautiful idea. I don't know who came up with it, but it was awesome. I seen people coming there. Like, I'm scouting, it's my money on the line. I'm underwriting this joint. So I'm watching. I'm kind of like Overwatch, I'm paranoid type. I see people coming in and I know are like, more like, a little thuggish, ruggish bone. And they may or may not have had bad intentions. It's a lot of like rich people, yuppies, and like, it's the vote. But
yeah.
By the time they get through that gauntlet, nah. They've been complimented, people giving them stuff, they don't have to pay to get in. They ask how much is the drink tickets. It's like $3 for what? This is like cheaper than a liquor store. What's going on here? I'm provided for. Everything's clean. The music's good. And then you just see them calm down. I've watched this. And you can see the process over 15, 20 minutes when they're looking for something wrong. And they finally accept that it's great. And they relax. That is the way forward. It's to grow things. It's to build parallel systems. Increase our third spaces. Whatever your faith. I'm not saying you have to be a Christian or a Muslim or a Buddhist or whatever, but can you at least follow one simple religion that is wrong to take? It's wrong to steal?
Yeah.
a theft, an attitude is a theft of a moment, right? All sin is a derivative of theft. If you can even embrace that without being religious and make a commitment not to take anything, we're going to fall short every single day. But if you're aware of it, and you're aware that inside of yourself, each of us possesses the divine, the holy, and the most evil, insidious things you could ever do. If you accept that you and yourself can do evil things, you're less likely to do it.
100%.
The problem is we have people right now who think that they shit don't stink. And they can't do bad things. And it's a scary time. So the path forward is the light, is to team human, is to understand, like Maya Angelou had a great quote, everything humans do is human nature. Everything. And so we don't have to be that way, but we have to understand what is the scarcity, what is the generational inherited trauma that does that, because you do inherit trauma. Big part of America, we now have scientific studies that we inherit trauma in our mitochondria. I may not have said that right, but for you scientists, just correct me.
Mitochondria.
Also, we inherit our trauma now. That's what they prove in science, but religious people have known that. If you accept the theology of your religion, all major religions say you inherit the sins of your parents, or trauma, or whatever you want to call it. You don't have to take those generational curses. The generational curses of slavery are twofold. We were on the receiving end of chattel slavery, the most vicious type of slavery. Slavery is going on right now around the world.
Of course.
But chattel slavery is unique in its viciousness. But then you have people who were perpetrating it, smaller percentage, because most people weren't wealthy enough to own people. It was a wealthy thing for the most part. And then you had the vast majority of the people who had to sit there and witness it all, knowing that they couldn't do a thing to stop it. And that's where we're at in Oakland. We're in shame. The vibration of America during slavery had to be shame. Most people in America felt shame that their fellow humans were being treated this way, but they couldn't do anything to stop it until there was a civil war. Now, you can get into all the politics. It wasn't really about that and whatever. For a lot of people, it was about that, okay? Maybe not for the people, but for the useful Indians, the soldiers on the battlefield, it was, okay? It was. It was about Black people. It was not about that for us. You seen the movie Glory, you telling me that they weren't fighting to be free? We're slaves. If we lose, we're slaves. If we win, we're not. Kind of a binary choice here. And we're in that again. You know, this low-intensity conflict it's global. Everywhere in the world, for the most part, that developed nations are going through it. And the undeveloped nations that have any type of natural resources are in the same type of violent conflicts that they've always existed in a competition for those resources. You also have this move right now. We went from the skilled craftsman. I'm a union organizer, so just talk labor talk. Samuel Gompers founded the U.S. labor movement. He was a shoemaker or a cigar roller or something like that. Then the Industrial Revolution happened. That's the CIO, AFL-CIO. Then the service economy in the 70s, that's why SCIU is the big dogs now. We're not going to be, what kind of economy do we have coming? Information economy? AI, autonomous economy? What does that create in terms of, this is why you have those people saying what you said earlier. We don't need y'all. We only need, my computer tells me we need this many people. So what we going to do? Start killing them. I wish it wasn't that simple and so morose, but it's starting to look like it. The more you look at these things, you're like, I don't know, I may have to just accept that we have an existential threat. And the solution is the more people we organize to not go into the darkness. It's how we win.
What are your thoughts on, let's just go into it, because as we were recording this, we're just off of the back of a very serious incident of political violence, which we both saw, which is the murder of Charlie Kirk, which certainly I'm still processing it for sure. I didn't know him personally, but I know have a lot of mutual acquaintances with him and moved in some similar circles here in the U.S. And it seems like, he's not a politician. He's political, but he's someone who talks for a living. He shares ideas. He organizes. He's an activist, goes to college campuses. So for someone like that to be killed in such a fashion, it really seems like I can't recall something like that happening before. I know, there have been presidents and mayors and governors.
MLK, Fred Hampton.
Okay, I mean, in my lifetime.
Oh, not lifetime.
Yeah, so I mean, if I go back, decades before I was born, then yes, of course, there are prominent examples of activists and speakers, organizers who have been assassinated or murdered in different circumstances. But when I think in recent history, like within my own lifetime, and particularly maybe in this last sort of 20 years of social media and smartphones and just the way everyone's interconnected now, it seems unprecedented. Perhaps there's another example that's out there.
No,
but
you're right. I don't know.
I think
outside of America, I can't speak on it. I don't follow other countries. But.
Yeah, but I think the fact that it is in America, and I think most people thought, okay, like that's just something that doesn't happen. This is the home of freedom of speech, and then on a university campus, which is the home of freedom, supposed to be the home of freedom of speech within the home of freedom of speech, and then someone is talking, sharing opinions, debating, discussing, answering questions. And I don't know the details of what happened yet. And that information hasn't come out. But, I would assume that someone or some group of people who were so vehemently opposed to words, opinions, things he was saying, thought it was so intolerable that he needed to or deserved to die. And I don't know if it's very dark. I don't know. I can't predict the future. I don't know what that means for the future. But I'm curious to know what are your thoughts on that, and what do you see?
So I touched on it earlier, and Charlie Kirk, who I don't agree with a lot, I would love to have debated him. That was one of my goals for next year. Sad that would never happen, but he always said, rightfully so, that when people stop talking and debating is when the scary times begin.
Yeah,
and I talked earlier about debate. And Christopher Lasch in the book, in this chapter, The Lost Art of Debate. And I mentioned that because progressives don't debate. I've run for 2 offices, I've never had a debate.
Yeah.
When I asked, why don't we debate? They said, we do forums. Debates are arguments. We don't need to argue. People just need information to make the right decision. Now, what the book says, and I agree with, is what democracy requires is not information itself, but debates. People don't know what information is relevant until it's tested to the public controversy.
Yeah.
And no one is a more avid seeker of relevant information than someone who was in an argument. And so that's why it's so important what he was trying to do, was teach people again to engage in debate. The people who don't want to debate are people they know that their arguments can't hold up to their own contradictions because they know that they're operating dishonestly. And so when they finally have done everything they can to avoid debating, they kill you. So we don't want to debate anymore in America. Something sad happened today to me. A good friend of mine I'm going to see in Portland in a couple of weeks was posting like, fuck around and find out, and a bunch of like just low vibrational stuff. And he's a good guy. Very nice guy. Very, very nice, gentle father. Just a wonderful human being. I just love him at that. And I was appalled, and I said, hey, man, I want to talk to you about this in person in a couple of weeks, but like, you may want to refrain from posting anything like that right now. It's just not saying anything at all.
Yeah.
If you don't care if someone died, it's like whatever, it's best to not say anything at all.
Yeah.
Because to say that someone deserves to be killed for their speech, and you're saying that their speech is violent, no, his speech was speech. It was debate. Like now you can just say, when I think of someone's speech or something, you think of someone has the right to kill them.
Yeah.
This is what I mean about the darkness in all of us.
Mm.
The fact that darkness is in someone as beautiful as this individual, and I mean, this is one of the people I've been literally one of the nicest people I've ever met, that's scary to me.
Yeah.
And he starts engaging in all of these ad hominem attacks and straw man and logical fallacies.
Mm.
And I'm like, you're an intelligent
in the discussion
person.
with you, you mean?
I know, and I start calling them out. That's a straw man attack.
Yeah.
That's ad hominem. Now you're lawyer. That's a logical fallacy. Please point out errors or omissions in my facts or logic And if you think that my question is not relevant to this conversation, say, I don't want to answer that question because it's not relevant. Because you're just ignoring the questions I ask. And now you're sending me memes. Don't send me TikTok videos to explain your position. Explain your position.
Yeah.
Silence.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll see him in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But it made me sad, man.
It is sad.
It's sad. Like, we got to debate. We got to talk. We have to keep this discourse going in good faith with the intention of actually coming on some solution, some shared solutions and we can implement, you know?
So sometimes I wonder if, you know, when people do things like that, if they don't understand, if they don't think deeply enough to understand the implications of what they are actually sort of advocating and supporting. I find a lot of people don't really think past first order consequences. They don't think, okay, what's the long tail repercussions of this? And even how could this potentially come back towards me? If you are someone who has opinions and who wants to voice them and wants to influence people and wants to change people's minds and wants to have conversations and discussions and any of that and be involved in social, cultural, political change of any type, then if you are celebrating this type of thing and you're just thinking, well, I don't agree with this person, I don't like this person, therefore it's okay that they be eliminated, that can come back to anyone. If that is the mindset, that same logic, there is someone else who does not agree with you and who does not like what you're saying. And if they follow that same logic, then like anyone's a target. You're just in a jungle now. There's no civility. There's no. It just leads to chaos. And I wonder if, like, I think a lot of the people, you know, who are, you know, posting those type of things, something like they don't strike me as particularly deep thinkers. And I just think, man, I don't think they just haven't even thought through. Okay, in this moment, you're sort of feeling this glee, and you think, oh, okay, like that was a quote unquote bad person. So, you know, bad thing happens to a bad person in their mind, and they're just not thinking deeply of like, what does this mean for the country? What does this mean for me? What does this mean for other people around me? And even more so because those type of people also tend to be very, very opinionated themselves. They're just on the other side, but they're also very opinionated, you know? And if suddenly, I don't know.
They lie with the chest out.
Yes. If conservatives or right-wingers adopted this mindset of like, oh, well, we don't like what the progressives are saying. We don't like what the liberals are saying. We certainly don't like what the socialists are saying. So it's just open season on like, whoa. Like, you don't want to live in that world. You don't want to live in that country. Like
they haven't though.
That's dangerous.
It's all like theoretical to them. They haven't seen the Civil War up close. Nobody who's seen war is talking like this.
Yeah.
I won't say nobody. I don't speak in absolutes, but pretty much.
Sure.
You know, I don't know if there's a question there, but I will respond to your statement.
Sure, please.
Is I think they believe they are thinking deeply.
Okay.
So in conflict resolution, I always like to follow a little mantra called the map is not the territory. And so your map is everything that's ever happened to you and how you've shaped your worldview. Same for me, same for them. The territory is what is. When I want to resolve conflicts, I try to give somebody better information or new information. The first goal is to get them to even receive it. So I have to have civility, empathy. I need to be the bigger person and give them every opportunity. Try to find common ground and massage them to new and better information. That requires a lot of patience that people just don't have anymore for other people.
Yeah.
And they're not enough to even know how to do that sort of conflict resolution. An example I give to people is, let's take this house. It's an Airbnb. You've been here a little bit longer than me, so your map is slightly bigger. I haven't used the bathroom yet. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
Could be different. Could have a little bidet or something on it. You may know that already. You could have, you know, hit your head on this table or something earlier, so you don't like the table. That didn't happen to me.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's not relevant to you? And so when you tell someone that their ideas are not complete or they're wrong, it's worse than taking their physical possession. You're taking away from their life. And so I like to be very gentle about telling people that you're wrong. I do it all the time. I'm not perfect. But I try to dial it back and say, have you considered this? And I understand, like my friends sending me all these horrible things Charlie Kirk said. And I'm like, these are horrible things he said. You deserve to die for them? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, wow. I would encourage you to think about that.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to think about that.
Yeah.
People, you now deserve to die for words because you have deemed those words to be hateful. I don't like what he's saying, but he's not calling for violence. Now, if this person was calling for violence against other people, you would have a legitimate concern. He had the big platform.
Mm-hmm.
If Charlie Kirk went on, rest in peace.
And that would also, but the thing is that
he doesn't do that.
And the thing is, even in the home of freedom of speech with the First Amendment, even in the First Amendment, that's an exception. I mean, direct calls to violence. You can't
call for violence.
Even in the U.S., like there's no country I'm aware of where you can be out there on a platform and be, making direct calls to violence like that. And
sometimes you have to remind people of the basics of what it means to be able to. It's a very scary time. I don't know where we're going to go. I'm hoping that our short attention spans and dopamine addictions allow this moment to pass for the worst parts of it.
Yeah.
And that the best parts of it stay, which are like in Nashville right now. I wasn't there, but we had an event with 120 people. Very diverse, different political classes, in mourning and in shock.
Yeah.
Then, you know what, I need to get involved with local politics. If that's what comes out of this, I think that's the way that Charlie Kirk would want us to move forward.
Yeah.
Is that he would want us to continue organizing, to bring people together and furthering discourse and stopping violence.
Yeah.
And that's all I know, man. I hope it works out. I mean, I'm kind of doom and optimist about it. My short-term outlook is very like black pill, but my long-term outlook is very white pilled.
Mm-hmm.
But as a pragmatic person, it looks like we're about to do that old dirty dance again.
Yeah.
As people. We do that every once in a while. Yeah. We just go crazy and kill each other, and then we wake up like, what the fuck was that? What we doing? What are we doing? Oh, let's not do that again.
Yeah.
And then we don't do it again for a while, and then we do it again. So, I mean, I've studied enough history to kind of see the cyclical nature of these things. I think that resource scarcity right now, or perceived resource scarcity, or lack of ability to get resources to people who need them, not through lack of ability, and people know it's not through lack of ability, so it's creating an enormous amount of anger. People have a right to be mad right now in America. To me, I'm upset at the central banks. If you were to tell me if you had one silver bullet,
I'm with you.
In the Fed.
Yep. Thank you. Someone who gets it.
Right? Like, most people don't know that. They don't know what you're talking about. Not in racism. I'm like, wow, you have no idea what's going on right now. Yeah, like, you have no idea. Right? You have no idea. You're a slave. You have no idea. Like, you have no control over your money. You're working, you're changing your time for goods and services that you have no control over the price points. And then they're leaving us in a situation where people can't make ends meet. Yeah. People are scared in America right now.
Yeah, I hear
people are very scared.
I know, man. And it's not just America, man. It's hard to think. There are only a handful of countries where that's not the general sentiment.
So is what's going on here happening? I don't study other places because I'm so localized in my activism.
Sure.
I see it peripherally. Like, I know the UK has, Canada's was.
Certainly the West.
The what?
The West in general.
The West in general.
The West in general, yeah.
Where do you live now?
I live in Dubai. I live in the UAE. Well, it's amazing. None of this stuff is an issue.
How often do you spend there?
I live there.
I know what I mean. You travel a lot, right?
Yeah, I travel a lot. I mean, now I got a family. It'll be, primarily, I'm not going to be like doing my endless nomadic travel like I've been doing over the last few years. But yeah, I mean, majority of my time, I'll plan to be there. I'll still travel a lot because I do what I do. But
and you've been visiting the States for how long?
I mean, since childhood. Since childhood.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I first came to the States.
Right.
I first came to the States.
I forgot that about you. By the way,
1990.
I first started following you. We did that. We thought that weightlifting thing was the funniest shit ever. we were like, yo, this dude is like, that was Sacha Baron Cohen level, like, very good, very good. And I thought something you were saying the other day about it that stuck out about the preparation and time you have to spend in the gym, even to be able to. That's a good comment. The people forget you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Like Kobe was in the gym, man. You just show up at the game with the fadeaways, man. Like you got to practice that. You know, like that's not as easy as it looks.
No, I think it's a good analogy for a lot of things in life where, you know, you see something and it might just be a short video or something, and it looks like you don't see what went into it. Right? You don't see the preparation. You don't think about the background, and that's just things happen. You know, by the time somebody blows up or achieves some type of success or achieves some type of fame or whatever it is, usually there's a whole long backstory, usually at least a decade plus of things that have gone on for them to get to that point. But then you just see that moment and it's like, oh, wow. You know, you see, you know, years ago, remember when Usain Bolt first broke that record, and people are just like, whoa, this guy's just kind of, you know, come out of nowhere. Maybe he was like 18, 19 at the time. And he went from no one knowing him to like everyone in the world is talking about this guy and how fast he is. And, you know, that race was under 10 seconds. But you didn't see the training. You didn't see all the previous races, all the running, all the diet, and everything. It's just that moment.
Yeah, you see that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because I don't want to say envious, but the feeling that they want that moment for themselves, but not knowing what you did, it leaves them like, does somebody just tap them on the shoulder?
Yeah.
Because that happens for some people, right? So people are selected for things, and their backstory is.
But when they are, it normally doesn't last.
That's true. That's true too.
It normally doesn't last.
That's because they were tapped for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? There was something about their character or something that someone saw in them where they saw them as a conduit for whatever mission they wanted to send them on. And so I feel the same way, you know, like most people don't know that I've organized in labor movement. Like I had a whole life in the labor movement. And well, probably because the newspapers won't talk about it because they be hating on me. They never want to put the good stuff. Never put the good stuff.
Yeah.
But Billboard Chris, they put that out there though. But ironically, I don't see that as much anymore. I think they know that it's not popular, so they don't use it to hate on me. I think a lot of people are scared and confused. The maps of their future life went away with COVID because
very disruptive
whatever
time.
you thought was happening wasn't, and things really changed kind of fundamentally. A lot of people have never recovered financially.
Yep.
A lot of children have never recovered developmentally, whether education or having to, like, I'm deaf, I read lips.
Yes.
Like,
oh gosh.
It was a very hard time for me to communicate because I can't read lips.
Yeah.
And I would step back from people and I would like put my mask on and I would be like, I read lips. So if you want to talk to me, like, and they wouldn't do it. They were so scared.
Yeah.
You know, do not be afraid appears in the Bible 365 times. That's a daily reminder that fear is the enemy.
Yes.
Right? If you can't take anything else from a book that popular, that's everywhere, that people have read, you can take that from it, right? Like, don't be afraid. When you find yourself, now there's times you should be afraid of somebody trying to mug you or somebody trying to break in the house right now. Like, we may have an appropriate reaction to that. But to live in this existential state of dread and fear and anger, they're playing with us. They're doing this. They're doing this to us. And these algorithms and these phones, I think we need, like, I went to the brewery the other day. We're healing. The point I'm making is that we're healing.
Okay.
I remember I said that first. I'll tell you the story. I went to a brewery. My neighborhood is very progressive. Used to be all the blue hairs and the nose rings and all of, like, I'm progressive, look at me. Hair dye's gone. But the aesthetics weren't nearly as important as this part. At one point, I looked around and realized not a single person was on their phone.
Okay.
I said, this is interesting. Let me pull out my phone and document it. Me being a dumbass, I have my phone, and I'm like, let me go in the corner. How long is it going to be? So I can look at it later to see how long it is before anyone pulls out a phone. It was 7 minutes.
Interesting.
Like 60 people.
Interesting.
Like a bunch of different tables.
Good.
In this culture?
Good.
And so I'm a curious person. So I went and asked them, hey, I just filmed y'all. I was stalking you. You saw me filming you because I was filming you. I was just fascinated that nobody here was on their phone. Nobody in the bar is on their phone. Can you tell me why you're not on your phone? It was like, I'm intentionally not on my phone.
When was this?
Because I'm tired of it. I don't like it.
This is just recently.
Yeah, and everybody was on. It's a new wave coming. People are over it. We're rejecting this stuff.
Interesting.
We're rejecting it. Have faith in humanity.
Yeah, man.
Have faith in yourself. Not you personally, but you too. But
I do. Don't worry.
You're a very positive guy. I appreciate what you bring to the Discord.
Thank you, man.
That you bring nuance and empathy.
Yeah.
You're a very empathetic communicator. I'm not so much so. I'm in politics. So I can be, my communication can vary depending on how upset I am. I'm an honest communicator in terms of how I feel, but I can be mean to people. And usually I regret it. Sometimes I don't. If they're corrupt, positions of power, I usually don't regret it. Because we're trying to take you out of, you're hurting people. We're paying you money to betray an oath of office to harm us. I reserve a certain amount of contempt for those people. But Charlie Kirk, to the point you made earlier, I did not like a lot of his positions on Black people. I thought that a lot of them were rooted in bigotry. I thought that even though the numbers don't tell the whole story. And for example, all of the numbers he gives about numbers of murders and all that versus Black population, they're almost equal in areas of like Appalachia or rural white areas.
Sure.
You can make a credible argument that is poverty and culture.
Sure.
And again, there is a toxic culture in the Black community that should be addressed.
Yeah.
Black people are not happy with him calling that out. He takes an enormous amount of flack for that. I'll protect him on that angle.
Yeah.
But you do say some things when you're stoking the flames a little bit.
But you know what? He would have that conversation with you.
What's up?
He would have had that conversation with you.
That's the point.
Yeah.
He would have loved
Yes.
to have that conversation. I went and did videos with Frontline. You know how political cost that comes to me in my market? Knowing that I don't agree with everything he said, because I agree with what he's doing, with what he was doing. Rest in peace.
Yeah. Man, Seneca, it's been a great conversation. What's next for you?
Nashville, baby.
Okay.
Nashville is on.
Okay.
It is a very unique political opportunity. You have a blue city and a red state. You have a very post-partisan vibe where people don't want to go left or right, but they want to go up, down. You have music and culture and food, a legacy of civil rights and all sorts of cool stuff happening. And I just think it's probably the most exciting political place in the country right now. So Axios literally had an article out 5 hours ago. I don't know what Axios, are they big? I don't know. I've heard the name.
Axios is pretty big, yeah.
The title was Nashville at the Center of America.
Okay,
America. Yeah, today. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about living there part-time. I feel sad. I'm praying for Oakland. I think that we're slowly getting it together. And the problem is that we have bankruptcy coming. We have some consequences coming from our lifestyle that we can't avoid. You're a fitness person. There's a point of no return sometimes. I'm 46. I got to get back on the horse. I've been riding my bike lately because I know it's a point of no return.
Yeah,
There's a point where if you're not, that's 7 years, your cells rejuvenate. It's not as robust the older you get. And if you don't keep your flexibility, there's a time when you're not going to be able to be what you could have been.
Yes.
And, I hope that Oakland can avoid that. But I'm very hopeful, and I just love it here. I never want to leave. I could easily relocate to Nashville, leave this place behind, but it's hard to leave such a beautiful city with beautiful people.
I hear that, man. Seneca Scott.